All right, we're moving on to Excel. So in order to do today's in-class exercise, what you're going to need is to go to Brightspace and download the in-class exercise Vlookup data file. So that's what I've done. I've downloaded it, I've opened it. Make sure, going down to the bottom here, that you are on the tab that says Part A, because that's where we're going to be dealing with first. So when it opens, it looks kind of terrible. So take a moment to spread out the columns so they are a little wide enough for anything that you have in them. Once you've finished that, you're going to format the column B. So I click on the B to select the whole column, and I go over to the number group, and instead of general, I'm going to go to percent, 0 decimals. Of course, you have a faster button you can click here. I did it the long way, just in case you don't have it in your new version of Excel. And for the heck of it, maybe I'll center that because I like my things centered. I'm going to head over to cell H3. So clicking in it to make sure that H is highlighted and 3 is highlighted. That's right. And I'm going to type the title grade table. I am going to merge and center that title across H3 and I3 by going up to the alignment group and just clicking merge and center. Okay, I'm going to select cells for H4 through H16. So watching on the left side how many things are selected. Could you also have just done this to the column? Sure. And I'm going to form them once again as percentage. And I'm going to have to do a little bit of data entry. So we're going to start with 0. And then we're going to do all the numbers that we have indicated on the instructions, or you can just pause and then type yours as we go through. So basically I'm creating, and there's no fast way to do this, unfortunately. It's a typey. So maybe I'll pause and fill it in, and then you can do the same. Once I've got all my grades in, I'm going to go up and match them up with marks, starting with F and going on. And I'll just talk while I'm doing this for a second. Kill two birds. When you'll notice that I'm starting at 0. Okay, so this is a feature of Vlookup function. So you're going to need always the autofill. So watch out for this when it's going to try and choose what you want. You can just space through and push it to the side to force it to do just the C and not the C minus. There we go. That's Excel making choices that I don't want it to make. So back to what I was saying, the Vlookup table needs to start at 0 if it's numerical. So if your lookup, the thing that you're looking at, and we'll talk about that more in a second, is a number, you need to start at 0 and go up. So reverse numerical order. I'll just finish up here. Okay, there we go. I'll center it just because I like things centered, no particular reason. And then we're going to move on to creating the formula. And just before we once again noticing that we're starting at a 0, and then our criteria is if you get a 50%, your mark changes to a D minus. So basically what I want this function to do is look at each student's mark and then assign a grade, a letter grade, by looking it up vertically on this grade table. I've just tried to zoom ourselves in a bit so we can see this next part, hopefully a little bit clearer. All right, so we decide where we want to put our letter grade. Well, obviously we're going to probably put it in cell C3 right beside the percentage. That would be the easiest for someone to read. And then we're going to insert a formula. Don't type, use insert function. And I'm just going to move this over where everyone can see. Brief description. Type Vlookup if you don't see it below. And when you hit go, it's only going to give you one option, which happens to be the one we want. So I'm going to click OK. All right, so they're asking for a few things here. The first thing is a lookup value. So that's what I need to compare to my grade table. That's the mark the student got. So I'm going to look at the mark the student got, and I'm going to compare it to the table. In order to get the table array, it's covered, so I'll just click this. It's just as easy. I want to select cell H3 through I16. Not the title, just the numbers and the letter grades. I hit the minus to close that. And now I need to make the table array absolute. If I do not, every time I copy the formula down, the lookup will look one down as well, and it'll move away from the table. So making it absolute forces the function to look in the same place every time. You can put lots of $signs in. There's a shortcut. If you're on Windows, when you are in the table array space, you can press F4. If you are using a Mac, when you are in the table array space, you can press Command T, or you can do it the long way. Column index number. So that's referring to our own table that we made within Excel. So our percentages would be column 1 in that table, and the letter grades would be column 2. Now, the value I want to return in this cell is a letter grade. I want to look at 50% and decide what letter grade that is. So I'm going to tell it to barf out the column 2 value. That was not the professional term. All right, and I can compare here, and I see that it's going to give me a D-, and that sounds pretty good to me. I like the look of that. I'm going to copy the formula down and see what happens. So close your eyes, there'll be a lot of scrolling, and we fill. And it's looking pretty good to me right now, just comparing the marks that I see to the grade table. By all means, center this one too, so you have the consistent formatting. Maybe you're going to add in letter grade. This is just filler. Maybe now you realize you can't wrap it, so you'll make it bigger. Whatever. It should be good to go. For the next part of the exercise, I want to switch to the Part B worksheet. So I go down to the tabs at the bottom, and I leave Part A, and I go to Part B. All right, so I see there's some names once again. I see the percentage and the letter grade that I already did on the other sheet. But I see there's also something called an attendance bonus now, which probably means our students will be getting extra marks if they have a good attendance record. First things first, notice that we have a green line with a little wonky thing going on. That means we have some hidden columns. In order to make them visible, the easiest thing to do is to select G through J, so kind of bookend those hidden things. And then if you right click, you should have an option to unhide. Click unhide, and there comes your grade table that we had previously made. In the step-by-step instructions, I have you building an attendance table down below the grade table, but in order to kind of keep it on the screen, I'm going to try and build it just one over. I'm going to actually make J really tiny, so I hopefully catch everything here. So in cell K3, not H18 like it says on the sheet, but you can do either, it doesn't matter. I'm going to type attendance, hopefully, ooh, definitely not spelled right, table. I'm going to do the merge and center move again. Won't make much of a difference here. Up in alignment. There we go. Okay, so watch what's happening here. In cell K4, I'm typing no, then partial, and then yes. I think normally if you were thinking about whether someone came to class, you would do yes, no, partial, right? But what you need to observe is these are in alphabetical order. And this is another thing for VLOOKUP tables. If you're looking up text, it must be alphabetical, no matter if it makes sense or not when you admire it. I'm going to go up to the cells L4 through L6, and I'm going to format them as percentages. And then I'm going to think about what kind of bonuses I want my students to get, whether they came to class or not. So I'd say if you didn't show up, you don't get a bonus. If you showed up some of the time, you get a 1% bonus. And if you showed up pretty consistently, let's give you a 2% bonus. And now this will be my new lookup table. And in a couple of steps, I'll create a final grade for our students. First, I'm going to title the column I want to put something in. So now I'm going to return 0, 1, or 2% for now in this column by looking up whether the student got an attendance bonus. So build the formula in cell E3. First things first, we click on the insert function. We have Vlookup already selected, so we'll go right to it. Okay, our lookup value, and I'm just going to, because it's covered, I can always hit this to select it, is whether or not they got the bonus. So I'm looking up the words. I'm looking up D3. Click the X to close it. My table array is now the attendance table, not the title, just the values. I close this, and I remember that I must make it absolute, Command T on a Mac or F4 on Windows. Once again, I'm looking up the second column. I'm looking at words this time and returning a number, a little bit different than last time. And it's going to show me a number that might be alarming, but that's just because it's recognizing it's a percent and it's saying that its decimal value is 0.02. So I should be seeing 0, 0.01, and 0.02 in this part, but when I hit OK, I did get 0.02, that's fine, we'll format it afterwards. First, I'll drag down my formula, copying it over all the way to the last person. And I see some values that look good. And while I have this all selected, let's change it to a percentage. There we go. And let's center it. While we're here, let's center this one. Everything should be centered. Okay. Now, is your final grade in this class 2%? Obviously not. We need to have the 2% we have in this column, but adding the mark that the student actually got in the course. The way we're going to do that is we go up to our formula bar and we're just going to edit the formula. I love the VLOOKUP as is, but I want a little more information. So when I click in, you'll notice it highlights everything the formula is already using. I'm going to put a plus sign in and I'm going to add cell B3 and hit enter, see what happens. There we go. Now the final grade is 52%. I'm going to copy that formula down all the way to the bottom. And you see all the marks change. Going back up, just making sure whether, so looking at the second student, 60% with no bonus, mark remains 60%. Student has 88% with a partial bonus, they gain 1%, 89%. Fantastic.